All right, testing, test. Okay, that's working. All right. Welcome back to the Puffed Out Podcast, episode 142. I have today's guest, another friend from the club. They all love coming on this podcast. They find it a vibe. They're late night owls, so they understand that we don't sleep on a normal schedule. As much as we try to. But today's guest is my good friend Valerie. Like I said, we have been friends from the club. She's seen some shit. I got some questions for you to ask. To get to know her a little bit, I want to express that this one has a very good taste in music culture wise. This one goes to raves, this one goes to shows. She shows up for everyone and everything, supports and bangs it out to the day's end. So, that being said, I want to hear the best show, the wildest show, and the show that you were like, why am I here? So your top 3 show festivals.
To be honest, I have not been to like any other like festival or big show outside of like the mini festivals like out in Tacoma, like Tacoma Dome, Thunderdome, and Base. And I just went to Void Dome this past March, like those ones. But the only other big festival I've been to is Lost Lands. And so far, I mean, to my experience, I've done it already twice in a row without going to any other festival because that's just how much I've fallen in love with.
Yeah,
it's great.
so Lost Lands is very dubstep heavy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like pretty much a dubstep show, but like with the alternative of like maybe drum and bass and stuff like that. But it's like very drum and bass heavy, correct?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm very dubstep. Sorry, Lost Lands is very dubstep heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's been more like
where's it based
I
out of?
feel like it's out in Ohio. It's called Legend Valley.
Oh.
It's like a music venue, and it's like their year round.
Ohio of all places.
I know, right?
I actually kind of fuck with that. I like when shit like you wouldn't expect it, but then you're like, they respect it, so we should respect it.
You know what I also wouldn't expect is the fact that it's like humid out there. And I was like, why is it humid? It's not even near the sea or anything.
Good humid or bad humid?
Kind of, because it's not like really during the day. It's like in the early morning where it's more humid, and then throughout the day it kind of is. It depends more on where you're at. But like where Lost Lands is kind of out like in the middle of nowhere ish. So, but the only reason why it's humid is because of corn.
Oh.
Because like there's like cornfields early in the morning, like the corn husks or whatever, they like release moisture.
I was just about to ask that. Like, so are they sucking in the moisture? They have to produce, like the farmers have to produce moisture, or so the corns are expelling moisture into the air.
Yes, but I honestly was kind of grossed out because I was like, oh, so you're telling me that this humidity and the stickiness I feel is fucking corn?
Wait, don't they collect alcohol from corn? There's a right? Hold on. Can you collect alcohol from? Yes, you can collect alcohol, specifically ethanol.
Oh, ethanol.
Oh,
that makes sense. Okay, yeah. I could probably think that the wildest would probably be like my first and only year at Thunderdome, which is like Excision's little thing. He does it over like 3 days over the weekend at the Tacoma Dome, and the Tacoma Dome is just like this giant freaking like dome venue. Mm-hmm. But the thing about it, why it's so popular within like the bass community, is because Excision's one of the biggest names in the bass side of BDM, of course. But also because this Thunderdome is like the production, the amount. Like the production with the lasers and the visuals and everything, and then the bass too, like their subwoofers and everything. Like you feel that shit to your motherfucking core, especially if you need to like crouch down because you're trying to like get a rest or anything, you know. And then all of a sudden you just feel like the like through your entire body, and in some way it's euphoric.
Has there ever been a show to where you're like, this isn't what I signed up for? Like, I expected this to be kind of good. And you don't have to name the show, but just, like, give us the experience of, like, this was bad.
I'm trying to think. I'm like, I haven't had any, like, horrible experiences. I'd say with just, like, maybe, like, what I got from the show in, like, a Like where I'm just like, oh, it was just bad. Like that's about it. Like I it was like almost 2 years ago. We went to Hull, and I forgot where we played. It was at Cervantes, like downtown Denver, and I just was like, what the fuck is this? I think it was like my second time seeing him, I think. And then I just was like disappointed because like there's like this fine line with like bass music that I feel like that's like where the divide is between like other genres because they're like, oh, bass music is like it's just the same thing over and over. And then bass music, people might say like the same thing about other genres. But with this one, it's just like there's a fine line between like being able to actually distinguish like different sounds and stuff within the bass when you start to listen, and then genuinely when there's just like I feel like
It's like a connoisseur kind of thing. Like the best way I can put it is like there's some people that can be like, this water's best than this water. And then you're like, there's some people that are like, it's just fucking water. And you're like, no, 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 good sir. You gotta understand that there are two different, you know what I mean? So it's like you develop a taste for that kind of stuff. You really gotta love that these genres to be able to understand the small fine lines.
Yeah. And for me, with my ADHD brain, I need I need to for there to be like a constant change or like build up of like that dopamine and stuff in order for me to vibe. That's just what I expect out of bass music though. Because it's kind of crazy to say that when I'm someone who loves hard techno too. And that is definitely like more consistent and more similar sounding, but I think it's just because that is what's expected of it. Like you know how it sounds and you are starting to like develop a love for it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because I mean, I feel like a lot of EDM genres are very an acquired taste.
That's
Like
a very, very good way of thinking about it, actually. Like, EDM is pretty much like an umbrella of a lot of things.
a lot of things.
Like, it's almost like saying, like, the city of EDM, and you're like, yeah, you go in that city, and then you see all the small areas. You're like, good, what?
Oh my god, it's like, have you seen Inside Out?
Yes.
You know how like in her brain she has like the islands of like the different.
Oh, yes.
That's like
But
the
there's
brain,
not
but
just
like
three. Yeah, there's not just three.
There's like
You go in that island, and then you're like, there's a whole ecosystem in this island. What the fuck? I have a question to ask. When it comes to music, as someone who tries to make it, tries to make music, I've noticed that there's kind of two different things, and I want your opinion on this. This is kind of like a deep dive. Would you say that there are two different types of music? Doesn't matter the genre, it's what it does to you as a person. There's the type of music to where it gets you off your feet. It's catchy, it's topical. You know, you can probably repeat the chorus the first time you listen to it. You know what I mean? You love that style. You know, there's that style, and it's a lovable style. But then if you want to flip it on its coin, it's like there's that type of music to where you're either dancing to it or you're just like kind of like staring at it because you're just absorbing the masterpiece. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, that's why I want your opinion.
I feel like I have like experiences with both, and this is with just like music in general. Where like EDM and like rock will be more or less like where I want to be able to like, dance, and I want to be able to just kind of like get my yayas out and get going, right? But then there's other music that genre that I listen to where it's just like it's more emotional.
Yeah.
Where it's just like I feel like either like on a spiritual level or I feel like on an angry
That's a good way of
level or
thinking of it.
whatever it is. Like this is where it comes in where like the other genres that I significantly like is more or less like the I don't know how to classify it. A lot of people classify it as like emo rap, where it's like Suicide Boys, Ghostman, City Morgue, all them.
You just
And
got
then
good
like
taste in what it is. Oh,
like
so you
that
understand the vibe is what you're trying to say. Okay, I got you.
and it was just like oh, and then like Peep and
Yeah.
how many like others I have there. That's more or less like when I've gone to their shows, just like more like I do dance, but it's also like I'm screaming my lungs out the entire fucking time. And that's also the same with this is more like the spiritual end, and I haven't been to a show like that, but I have like this playlist where it's just kind of like my gothy playlist, but it's very like unique to myself because it's like what I
Consider
feel
it.
like consider it in that category. Maybe not everybody's like, oh no, like this is probably not like very goth. But it's just like, well, when you put it in this way, like I have a couple of songs in there that's just like I would like to like consider it like goth EDM because it has like that EDM vibe, but it's like it's like dark. Oh, it's like dark wave.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, I feel like we kind of get confusion of a lot like a style versus a genre. I feel like
Mhm.
those can kind of get too cloudy sometimes.
Mhm.
Like you said, you like emo, right? Like
Yeah.
that alternative, that dark style. That can that emotion transcends through genres. That's why you're kind of like naming artists that are like kind of dancing around that spectrum
Yeah.
because you're pretty much saying that I like that style, which I kind of want to like. That actually clarifies a lot of stuff because like I said, I love. There's a lot of dark techno that I really really love, but then you listen to maybe like a Suicide Boys or like you said, Little Peep or one of these guys, and you're like, wait, how how
It's crazy because
what?
there's just no
I see
correlation.
similarities, but
It's just
my
like
brain is not braining on how this connects.
George.
Hey, Julie, that's my manager. She's making sure I'm not acting up. There's no lawsuits or anything happening here. You don't have to write a 3,000 page apology to a judge again. That only happened twice. I got my emo playlist as Barcode Generation and my oldies music as Vintage and my workout playlist We Fit.
We.
Okay. Barcode Generation is wild though.
Oh,
Julie.
I completely skipped
Julie,
over
I just realized that. Because she said We Fit and I realized, oh, she's naming her playlist.
Barcode generation is very.
No, that's
very-
clever. That's clever. You can't get
mad.
mad at that. That's actually just really fucking clever. But like I've always loved some of those songs to where like they take your breath away because of how pretty or like the message it is. Like I don't know. There's like I said, there's two different styles. There's one where you're like, hey, I'm in the club, I'm in the club, and then there's some ones where you're like, this song's making me rethink that I may be the problem. I may be the toxic one in my thing, and I'm willing to accept the bigger person and move on with my life.
We're
Shit.
certified yappers.
We're certified
That's why.
yappers. But once again, guys, thank you. Love you guys. Have a great night. And we'll see you next week.